A Mandela Effect Mystery. The Missing Dinosaur. Hello, and welcome to All Time Scary. Today we're looking into the Mandela Effect mystery of the missing dinosaur. Let's set the stage. It's the 1960s in the town of Bolton in northern England. Within this city is a public museum and art gallery known as the Bolton Museum. Inside of this museum stood a massive replica dinosaur model that towered over visitors. Anne Wright, head of English at Rumworth School, remembered seeing the dinosaur on visits in the early 1960s. I remember a huge dinosaur standing in the entrance to the natural history section. Alan Rushton also remembers his first time seeing the dinosaur. I remember as a schoolboy going on visits to the museum and standing in awe looking at it. What a magnificent sight it must have been to gaze upon that replica dinosaur model. Unfortunately for anyone thinking about seeing it today, it isn't possible anymore. It turns out that the dinosaur exhibit that once resided there is missing. So you might be wondering, what does a missing dinosaur display have to do with the Mandela effect? Well, it's quite simple. The dinosaur display that supposedly is missing apparently doesn't exist. And I don't mean the dinosaur doesn't exist anymore, or was stolen, or was put away. I mean it quite literally has never existed. Anne Wright's quote from earlier continues, "I remember a huge dinosaur standing in the entrance to the natural history section. One day I went in, and it was no longer there. Later on, when I asked about it, none of the staff could remember anything about it, but I know I saw it. Now nobody seems to know anything about. It's bizarre." Let's also finish Alan Rushton's quote about seeing the dinosaur display. "I remember as a schoolboy going on visits to the museum and standing in awe looking at it. I raised the matter when I was on the arts committee, but we were never able to find any trace of it." He continues, "Am I supposed to accept that my eyes deceived me, or this enormous dinosaur was a figment of my imagination?" Both Anne and Alan weren't alone. In fact, over 40 museum visitors in the 1960s reported being impressed by the massive full-scale model of a dinosaur. The museum staff can't explain it. They also can't find any records of this replica dinosaur existing. Not a photo, not an article, not a shred of evidence other than the 40 or so people who remembered this display. Now that half a century has passed, time is running out to solve this mystery using first-hand accounts. Over the intervening years, the case of the missing dinosaur display has puzzled museum staff and the public. So is it possible that the Mandela effect is to blame? We know conceptually the Mandela effect can change memories, details, and past events, both big and small. Both the missing Bolton dinosaur and the Mandela effect fall under the skeptic dismissal known as mass misremembering. The concept is that tons of people simply misremembered all the same details, individually, somehow. So tell me, is this simply a case of mass misremembering? Honestly, only the 40 or so people who saw that display, or thought they saw the display, could ever really know. Stephanie McGuire of Bolton Council said, "There have been stories and questions about this dinosaur skeleton over the last 20 to 30 years, but there are no records of Bolton Museum ever having owned such a skeleton. The museum service have some photographs of the galleries in the 1930s when they opened, but there is no dinosaur." She continues, "In terms of people's memories, it emerged about 50-50 between people insisting it had existed and others insisting it had not." She concludes with, "We have also been through all of our old registers and there is no mention of it. The only conclusion we can draw is that it never existed." Plenty of other theories exist. One theory is that the dinosaur in question was a big money laundering scheme. Others believe the dinosaur was stolen on museum employee watch, and to keep their jobs, former museum staff lied about its existence until the public bought it. There are tons of fascinating rationales for the missing dinosaur. My personal favorite is that Nick Cage National treasured the dino. Steve Garland, who is the head of museums at Bolton Council, called on anyone with a photo, book, or newspaper article mentioning the dinosaur to come forward. He said, "We would love to get to the bottom of this and put it to bed once and for all. People have been telling us about this dinosaur for years, and even members of staff that say they can remember coming to the museum to see it. But there is no record anywhere that it actually existed. The dinosaur is fast becoming a legend, and it seems more and more unlikely that we'll ever find out the truth of the matter." To finish off this video, let's end with a quote from a man born in 1921 named Frank Smith, who clearly remembers the dinosaur while working at the museum with Bolton architects during the late 1940s. I used to walk through the museum many times, and I can confirm it was there. I knew the building well during this time as my employers had been involved with building and fitting it out. There is no doubt that it was there, and it was about 20 feet long. So there you have it. What did you think about all this? Let's hear it in the comments below. For me, I'm going to add this to the ever-growing list of Mandela Effect mysteries.